Viewers beware, you're in for a scare.
Hi guys, this is Privé again for another Halloween themed video on fragrances, and it's actually a top 10 list on fragrances that I own that I'd wear for the colder seasons, fall and winter. First off, fall is my favorite season. October is probably my favorite month. I really love Halloween, and so I also find that it's nice to do a video about this season because in the fragrance realm, you could say that it's one of the best seasons because you can wear pretty much anything and even like more daring things than you would normally wear. And that goes the same for clothing in general. You can express yourself more, have more clothes on. It's nice to have less clothes on, but it's also nice to have more and demonstrate style. And it's the same for perfumery. So without further ado, I'm gonna start off with a really like typical fall fragrance, like fall name fragrance even. It's Halloween Man X by Halloween. So it's a perfumer from Spain, if I recall correctly, that does this perfume. Like I'm gonna spray while I talk each fragrances. I'm gonna spray it here so I can get a sniff. And this one is like, it's like so casual, so nice. It's like totally wearable, like super easy to pull off. It's also really cheap. Like the price is very cheap, which is like a huge plus because like someone who doesn't like fragrances that much don't want to spend $300 on a fragrance. This one is like, I mean, maybe $20, you know, for 125 ml. You've got like, it could be like your signature scent. It's wearable at other times of year than on the colder months, but it's really nice on the colder months because it's, yeah, it's designer type of fresh and everything, but there's a coffee note, there's spices in there. It smells more deep than most of the summer fragrances, but I think it's totally wearable in summer. You know, it's like so, yeah, it smells so nice. It's like, it's a bit like a, smells a bit like a clubbing fragrance, a bit like the Versace Rose and La Nuit de l'Homme, maybe more like La Nuit de l'Homme, but the coffee note, like, it's really good. There's leather in there, and also I like the fact that it's not like as projecting as La Nuit de l'Homme and Eros. Some will say that it's like a defect of some fragrances, that the sillage is not very big, that you don't go beast mode because it's like a kind of clubbing scent, like kind of clubbing smelling fragrance. But I just don't really like it when everything projects too much. My skin projects a lot naturally, and I like when people can get closer, at least in the usual time, not in the COVID, but if you can get closer, that it's still pleasant, and that one does it for me. It's always pleasant to have that one. So a really nice buy for like really nice fragrance for the buck, you know, $20, and you got an amazing fragrance right there. That is really pleasant. Um, yeah, that's pretty much everything I can do. So next in line is Carolina Herrera CH-Men Privé. So this one, okay, it's like it's kind of overdone because everyone really likes it, but look at this. Like it's like a flask, and like it suggests the fragrance is really boozy, really yes, it's really boozy. It's you smell the cocktails, you smell almost like the cigarette, the leather, you know. It's like a bad boy kind of fragrance, I'd say. It's like it's been compared a lot to La Nuit de l'Homme also, but it's not La Nuit de l'Homme at all. It's like it's a lot less classy. This one is like straight up, you know, yeah, leather jacket and drinking scotch and bourbon, mostly bourbon. Really good, good for the evenings, going out with friends, clubs, everything. Like also like very cheap fragrance. Like it doesn't cost much, and like it's got a good projection, good longevity. It's not as super intense and beast mode as other fragrances that I have, like Eros, but it's way enough. Like I don't mind it being like that much of a sillage, except like because Eros you can fill a room very easily. That's why like moderation is best with that kind of fragrance. But those like those two, like I probably usually spray like 3 sprays, something like that. Whereas Eros, I'd like more like just 1 spray because it's very powerful. These ones are like 3. So some fragrance that's like 2 sprays is that one. So most people will know that one. You know, it's a classic from the 90s. Uh, at the time they had like all these fougères. I think I wasn't there back then, but and that one seems to have like shocked the audience because it's a complex oriental fragrance. Mm. I always wear it in fall and in the winter. I wear it also in the summer, but it can be a bit overwhelming. It's dark, and every time I smell it, like there's something else, like something new that comes out. Like sometimes I like to smell the lily of the valley note in there. Sometimes the honey note, um, the tar accord. But it's very dark. Like it's very like there's maybe chocolate and very dense, very deep, very complex, and a lot of notes for a fragrance that's so cheap. Also, because this one also is pretty cheap. I've arranged the fragrance I'm presenting today in order that they are cheap at the beginning and more pricey at the end. So this one, yeah, it's a temporal classic. It's unique. There's nothing that smells like that on the market, and it's very cheap. And you can also buy like refill bottles, which is very nice because you buy the bottle once, and afterwards you can just buy the refills when you're over with the bottle. And it's very strong. It's a very strong one. Very nice. I like that one too. Reminds me all kinds of souvenirs because um, yeah, I've worn it a lot during the past year. Alright. Okay, so next one. Which one will I choose? Um, I'll start with that one because that one also reminds me memories. The other one is like a more recent love. Um, so a fragrance right here that's called Burberry Brit. It's branded by Burberry, So it's another designer fragrance. Ah, it's so good. It's like woodsy, there's ginger, and most of all, that very, very nice rose note. Like, you need to smell that one because you won't believe that little rose note right there. Putting that on is like, um, it's like being like a knight, you know, in a like with the rose and the sword, you know. But no, it's like being a gallant knight, you know. You're polite, you're well mannered, you're clean, but you're also charming. You know, that's how I see it. It's a charming little one, you know. Oh, it's so good. And that one, yeah, it's Burberry Brit for man or for him. I don't really know the difference. I think that it's not even the same exactly, but this one was called Burberry Brit for him, I think. And um, we could address like so many people have addressed the marketing issue with fragrances, that they are very addressed either to men or women. Um, I always say that anybody can pull off anything, uh, but I recognize we need to recognize the archetypes. Sometimes, like, marketing wins in the end. There are archetypes that we can kind of notice, and in fragrance, and like uh, in fragrance in particular, the archetypes are like the more woodsy stuff for men, darker stuff, and the more floral stuff are for women. And but like I said, that one is like an example of one that is woodsy and spicy, so really for men, but with that clear rose note that could suggest something more feminine. And some people might think, oh, this is feminine, oh, this is, but we don't care. You know, if you're a woman and you like a Burberry Brit for him, well, good for you. It's a really good fragrance, and like the two Burberry fragrances I'm presenting here are really cheap too, and they're so like they smell sophisticated. They smell refined, even though they're very cheap. So it's a big props for them. Like it's a house I discovered that most people don't really look at it. Next one here is another by Burberry. It's Burberry London. I'm wearing it right now, in fact, so I can also smell the dry down. Uh, but this one, um, like I discovered it very recently. I had a sample of that for some time sitting right there because I love Burberry Brit so much that I just took all my love and put it on that one without actually trying that one. And when I tried it, oh god, it's so good. It's kind of like Porto wine, spices. There's something I don't know, something religious about that. Like it smells a bit like a candle or like a like incense maybe, but there's no incense note there. I would have noticed. I hate incense notes in general. In fact, I don't hate them. It just doesn't go well on me at all. And that one goes very well on me. It's sweet, yet um, kind of mature. It sounds like it smells really sophisticated too, just like the Burberry Brit one. It's the two of them smell really British, you know, in a gentleman kind of way. Um, it smells like polite but charming, you know, very charming. These two ones right there. Maybe like if I would do like aging of these ones, this one would be for like the young gallant gentleman, and this one would be like for the a bit less young gallant gentleman. like maybe like up until like 30 and 30 plus, maybe something like that. But I'm 25 and I'm rocking this one, so yeah. And I'm also doing this one, so like nothing really matters. And I could definitely see anyone wearing these two fragrances. It's one of the thing about the designer fragrances. They kind of fit everyone, so it's good, you know. Next off is I've talked about it like through other fragrances, which is why I couldn't like not present it today. Um, it's La Nuit de l'Homme, but the eau de parfum, uh, which is very not very different from the eau de toilette, but pretty different. You smell like the grapefruit a lot more. In fact, there's also a grapefruit note in the Carolina Herrera CH Privé, but on that one, like you smell it so much, and it's got depth. You know, it's like it's not all volatile. I thought that the eau de toilette version was more volatile. It's still like a killer fragrance. The La Nuit de l'Homme original is great. That's what I prefer. Although it's all a matter of choice at this point. It's got a little less sillage than the original, but like I said, I always say I never really want to go beast mode. That one is way enough for me. Put on 2 sprays, perfect. People come close and smell, and they're really liking it. So that's yeah, and it's like it's kind of like a classier version. This one, I think, like sometimes I want to go out, and depending on what clothing I wear, I'd have worn either this one or this one, and this one would be like more casual. This one I would be a little more classy, but still, it's a designer fragrance that is meant for everyone in a lot of circumstances. The note that exemplifies La Nuit de l'Homme in general is cardamom, which is so nice, so great. So it's another spicy one. Like I said, the fall fragrances are definitely sometimes more spicy, sometimes with more notes, which makes it a great time of the year for heavier fragrances than the usual. So afterwards, we jump into like a Tom Ford streak. Tom Ford is probably my favorite designer um, house in general. They are putting a lot of effort into their fragrances, um, and it smells like the effort they put in and the great ingredients. But it also costs a lot more than all of those right there. Which of all of those, like probably the pricier one is La Nuit de l'Homme Eau de Parfum, and it's not like it's still pretty cheap. This one is a lot less cheap. And oh my god, but it's like one of my first love in my fragrance journey. That one, it's so classy, like it's so deep. It's got the cardamom. It's got like it's kind of mysterious. It's a gourmand. It's supposed to smell like kufi, which is an Indian dessert. I've never had some and never heard of that before I did the research. But if it tastes as good as that smells, I'd like to have that every day. It's really really good, and it's like there's the one note that sometimes people forget about. That one is the Neroli note, which is like it brings up everything. Um, it's gives a crispier note to the fragrance that is very deep, very round, very rich, and there's that crispy little neroli note up there, which gives it a citrusy, fresh vibe that is, but it's definitely not fresh. Like it's very deep, and it's yeah, it's like you're gonna look like you're edible. It's so good. Like, and there's a version This is like the Noir Extrême version, so it's supposed to be like the male version, but there's also Noir pour Femme, which is not a version pour femme, like for women, of the Noir by Tom Ford. It's like a version for women of the Extreme, the Noir Extreme. But to be frank, I think it's all a matter of marketing there, because it's like approximately the same scent. I took that one because I tested both, and it fitted better on me. And I thought that my sister should have the other one, so I bought her for her birthday, I think. And when we do wear it, sometimes I've gotten like someone that told me that it smelled feminine on me, that one Noir Extrême, and my sister got that Noir pour Femme smelled masculine on her. So it's all a matter of perspective. I've heard that some men really prefer the pour femme version, and it's just that this one, like it fitted me better. Like I tested both and it fitted me better. The other one was still amazing, but that one was a bit better for me. I think that on my sister, it's the pour femme version that fitted better, but I've been like abroad to meet a friend, and she was like in love with the Noir Extrême, and I told her, like I said, I know that we're not about saying you should take the woman's version or anything, but try both, because I tried both too, and maybe I could have gotten with the pour femme, because this one is really good. Maybe the other one will be even better for you. And she decided on picking up that one after trying both. So it really just depends. It's not a gender thing. It's really like it depends on the type of skin you have, on various things, on your personal like feedback on that. So a really good fragrance. I recommend it a lot. All right. So the other one, which is like most Tom Ford fragrances, I'd say are like don't have this archetypal male versus female thing. A lot of the other ones that I talked about, like you can smell the branding. You can smell the archetype. With Tom Ford, not at all, I think. And this one is another example of that. Even though many people will say that it's leaning more masculine than feminine, this one, but I don't think so. Like, and I'm gonna explain why. So it's Ombre Leather, Tom Ford Ombre Leather. Oh god, this one smells like leather. Period. It's so good. It's like really good leather. It's the leather that you want. And I've tried other leather fragrances, a lot of them. Fahrenheit. I've tried Tuscan leather by Tom Ford. I've tried Jo Malone. Their leather. It's never as good as Ombre Leather for me, but I will say why people would say that leather is a more masculine leaning thing, but I don't think so. To be frank, everyone can wear whatever they want, and we kind of all have the image of like very like sexy, powerful women wearing leather, and very powerful men wearing leather too. So, and very sexy men wearing leather too. So anyone could pull that off. They just need like the to work their aesthetic, because it's kind of high class. That one, it smells really high class. Like I smell that and I'm like, I'm not dressed for that right now. I need to dress dark and be all mysterious and stuff, and very like it gives power, it gives inspiration, and it's sexy. All the Tom Fords like sexy fragrances. It's so good. Mm. And so well done. Like, so well done. Nothing compares to the Tom Fords, you know. I don't, in my opinion, and I've tried a lot. Like some people would say, like the Parfum de Marly, the Amouage, the whatever, the niche ones. Uh, it's just not the same thing, you know. They're good too. I've got some Parfum de Marly in my collection, Bond number 9, you know, and they're all very good. But the Tom Ford, they got like this sexy thing cooking, and it's always good. So another one by Tom Ford, and this one is like, I think it's the most recent one that's been on the list. Tom Ford Black Orchid Parfum. Now, this one, oh my god, I liked the Eau de Parfum version so much, the original one, so much, and I thought like they will never be able to do a better one. When I heard that they were releasing a new one, I was like, this is impossible. It's releasing a new one of that. It doesn't seem possible at all. But mm, it's like, oh my god, it's sexy. It's like a super, like a garden, but a creepy, like not a creepy, uh, a vampire would, like a romantic vampire would wear that, and not like the Edward Cullen type. I mean more like the Dracula type, but like a a romantic one that has emotions. You know, it's like it's full of life, but it's so dark at the same time. It's like gothic. It's like, I don't know. It's a black orchid. It's a flower that doesn't exist, but is dark and mysterious and beautiful. And the smell it produces is like enticing and intoxicating. And the, oh my god, there's this rum that they added there. It's gorgeous. I'm a fan of boozy fragrances. This one, like the rum note, like like I hate ylang ylang in general, but on that one, this is good. Like this is so good. It's one of my favorite ever, I think. Generally, when I people ask me what is my favorite fragrance ever, Black Orchid, and that one is even better than the original. That was my favorite back then, and it smells sensual, sexy. Uh, I've heard that like Tom Ford made it the original to smells like a man's crotch. That was like probably a joke, but still I think that what he meant was that it was supposed to be sexual, it was supposed to be sensual, supposed to be carnal, even, you know, carnal, like like vicarious, you know. It's, oh, it's so good. On the last one on this list is one by Guerlain in the L'Art et la Matière line. It's called Néroli Outrenoir. Guerlain is like probably one of my favorite non-designer, like niche fragrance house, if we can say. Some people would say that Guerlain is not a niche fragrance house. I just call niche fragrance houses everything that basically is only supposed to do perfumes, and Guerlain started out with doing the Eau de Cologne Impériale in 1853. So they're in the perfume business for decades, for centuries, in fact. And that one is one of their more modern ones, and it's also like sometimes I answer Black Orchid, sometimes I say that one, and it's perfect for the fall, you know. This one, Néroli Outrenoir, is fresh, but because it's a Neroli fragrance, Neroli fragrances, generally they're Eau de Cologne, which is like one of the slightest concentration of alcohol. That's mostly what you'll get when you hear Neroli. They wanted to do a take on Neroli that would bring it splendor, bring it grace, bring it sophistication, refinement, power, a big bottom, you know, and this is why Néroli Outrenoir gives this depth. It's like unsuspected because it's so like the crispy, fresh, citrusy notes in there balances the darker notes like a yin and yang, and they all combine together, creating a sense of stability, of perfection. You know, it's art in a bottle. That's why it's called l'art et la matière. It's because it's art and matter. What matters is taking the neroli, doing something with it that is art, and this is art, and it's pretty. The first time I smelled this, I thought like wildly right away about one of my favorite composers, Jean-Baptiste Lully, who was the court composer for Louis XIV, the Sun King in France during the Baroque period. And like I smell that, and I hear the harpsichord, I hear the beautiful chords, I hear the melodic lines, you know, everything just strikes me, and it's just too good. Like there's some pepper in that, everything is so good, and I've worn that on several occasions that I needed to be more suited up, and it does work. Like, you know, it imposes some splendor, like elegance, beauty, you know. It's really, really, really good. And I've worn it on several other occasions where people could smell me at a distance because there was wind outside, and they were like struck by this beautiful fragrance. They knew I was coming, and they also like pictured like something that was romantic, something that reminds us of fall, like the passing of season, the wind blowing away and giving off that subtle fragrance but still strong. It's so good. It also makes me think about my favorite author, Virginia Woolf, who's been joining me today, and it's an author that I actually discovered in fall with Mrs. Dalloway, and it's always so nice to read her books in the fall season because it's melancholic, it's beautiful. I would recommend Mrs. Dalloway as a first book, or A Room of One's Own. A Room of One's Own is like her essay that is really, really, really good, but also like To the Lighthouse. But my personal favorite is and will remain The Voyage Out, her first book. Very touching, very beautiful. But that's not the point. Let's talk about fragrances here. So I think I have covered a bit of what everybody would need, like in accordance to their budget. There's like this Halloween Man, very cheap fragrance for 20 bucks. There's Néroli Outrenoir that probably around 300 bucks, you know, so a lot pricier, a lot classier too, but and I prefer that one. I'm growing like a nose for that sort of very fancy natural ingredient fragrances, but that doesn't mean I can appreciate the 20 bucks one that is very good. I've worn it a couple of times. The coffee note, just amazing. So that's it. And one of the ones that I really love is that one, Burberry Brit. It's so nice, and it costs about, I don't know, in discounters maybe 40 bucks, 30 bucks, I don't know. And yeah, what I really need to tell you guys is that anywhere you go, any fragrances you like, don't just spread love, spray love.